every individual charged in the indictment is charged with one count of violating Georgia's Racketeer, Influenced, and Corrupt Organizations Act through participation in a criminal enterprise in Fulton County, Georgia, and elsewhere to accomplish the illegal goal of allowing Donald J. Trump to seize the presidential term of office beginning on January 20th, 21. Specifically, the participants in association took various actions in Georgia and elsewhere to block the counting of the votes of the presidential electors who were certified as the winners of Georgia's 2020 general election.
To our US correspondent James Matthews live from Washington. We've been poised for hours thinking something might happen. Well, James, it has in fact, and you're starting to read, no doubt, these 97 pages, some big charges and some big names being charged.
Yeah, Donald Trump and significant others, Nick. Rudy Giuliani, his former personal attorney, is charged. So too is Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows. They are among 19 who face charges under this indictment, under so-called RICO charges, effectively racketeering charges, a statute that was introduced in the 1970s to help prosecute mafia crimes. So the Don at the heart of this particular set of charges is the Donald himself. And what's striking is not just the fact that there is a former president sitting slap bang in the middle of his fourth indictment, but also the number of people around him, his inner circle, people in considerable positions of power. You know, Mark Meadows, chief of staff, Giuliani, who travelled the country, trying to lean on state officials, election officials, to convince them their counts were wrong, that they had been prey to election fraud, trying to convince them that was the case and send a message up to Washington and send slates of so-called fake electors to Washington in an effort to ratify the 2020 election for Donald Trump and deprive Joe Biden of his rightful victory. 19 people charged in total, 30 people, 30, listed as uncharged co-conspirators. So this was a wide-ranging scheme involving fake electors, involving the breach of vote counting machines, involving the harassment of election officials across, 7 states, plus the District of Columbia, D.C. So it was a wide-ranging scheme involving a considerable number of people, an extremely significant piece of legal investigation, criminal investigation in the state of Georgia, which, of course, feeds into Donald Trump's considerable legal jeopardy.
Talking about legal jeopardy, it's hard, many might have forgotten just how many charges he is facing overall, both federal accusations. But this one here concerning Georgia is a state charge. Just distinguish the two for us, James.
Yeah, well, probably the main distinction from Donald Trump's perspective is the business of a pardon or not. At federal level, and he does face indictments at federal level, he can be pardoned by a sitting president. And of course, if he wins the election in November 24, then he can self-pardon, although that may be subject to some legal challenge. At state level, you cannot receive a presidential pardon. That's down to a state board, and you'd have to serve at least 5 years in jail before you were eligible. So there will be no pardon for Donald Trump should he be convicted in Georgia, and perhaps significantly, no pardon for anybody else, any of the other 18 who are charged alongside him. Prosecutors will doubtless be going to them and saying, look, you face a long time in jail, 5 to 20 years under this RICO statute. Do you really want to stand by this man, or do you want to flip? Tell us everything you know, we'll give you a free pass, and you can enhance our chances of prosecuting the man in the middle of all this. That man has issued a statement of denial, I might say, and I'll read it very briefly to you, Nick, saying to Fox Digital, 19 people were indicted. The whole world is laughing at the United States as they see how corrupt and horrible a place it has turned out to be under the leadership, he says, of crooked Joe Biden, his words. That's Trump's statement of denial tonight here in Washington, D.C.